will be House Bill 1049. Mr. Shooter, would you read it in?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Members, this is House Bill 1049 by Representative Owen. It provides relative to public meetings.
On your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, members. Bring before you House Bill 1049. It is, in my estimation, a good government and a transparency bill. It focuses on public meetings and some constructs of things that I believe we need to tighten up. Some of this was brought to my attention by some citizens. I'm joined today at the table by Miss Nancy Tower. She lives in Beauregard Parish. She's a former council member from the city of Sulphur and has served on a lot of boards in her life. So I'm going to just give you a quick summary, and then I'm going to let Ms. Tower address the heart of the issue. This bill essentially does four things. It clarifies that meeting notices must be posted in a way that people can actually see them, as opposed to cutely hiding them. It improves minutes. Third, it improves the minutes requirements by making sure that we record who made and seconded motions in these public meetings. Fourth, it ensures draft minutes are prepared for members within a month and that the final minutes are posted online so that the public can actually see them. Finally, the bill requires legal counsel to be present or provide someone who is in the meeting that has had a modicum of training to understand what goes on and what's supposed to go on. Y'all know we have a lot of different boards and councils and things in our state. And so what we're simply trying to do here is tighten up how we do meetings, oftentimes for citizen volunteers who are conducting these meetings. So if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like Ms. Tower to make a quick presentation.
Ms. Tower, please introduce yourself for the record and go for it.
Thank you. My name's Nancy Tower. I live in Longville, Louisiana.
Okay, proceed.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you for letting me share with you. I love Louisiana open meeting law. I was involved with Public Affairs Research Council back in the late 80s when a lot of the major updates were made to it. I've served on a city council and a fire board following open meeting law, so I have a lot of insights. But I will tell you, my true education on open meeting law came after I retired from industry, took on a local radio show, and kind of became a good government community activist. From the other side of the table, you get a real education in open meeting law. And I will tell you, I was very disheartened by the lack of knowledge and truly the egregious violations that happen. And I know that it is the intent of the legislature that open meeting laws encourage the public to be engaged. They encourage the public to have a voice and to come forward. That's the intent, not to hide anything, but to encourage it. But I will tell you, when good people who just don't understand the laws violate the laws, it discourages public input. It so discourages. People are disrespected. I've seen many instances where, if you walk in as a state representative to a local fire board meeting or a water board meeting or a recreation board meeting, there's great respect. But if you just walk in as a grandma who pays their tax dollars and wants to be heard, it doesn't always work out that way. And I think a lot of you guys have seen that. So while I believe strongly that there are some things, as Representative Owen said, that need to be just tightened up in the law, simple example of posting meeting notices on a second floor where there is no way a working person after work can see that in a locked building. That's important. But what I want to make an impassioned plea for is simple training. Not complicated, not expensive training, basically an awareness level knowledge. I have sat on boards, I have gone to board meetings where there is literally no awareness level knowledge. Now, if you have an attorney sitting on your organization helping you follow it, good, check the box, you're covered. But for these hundreds of boards in our state that do not have attorneys sitting by them, the person who is running the meeting should at least be told there's an open meeting law, and here's how you find it. So I understand there's been some concern over costs. The way this is written, there should be no costs associated with it. It's simply a good government request.
Okay, thank you for that. We have one question. Representative Farnham.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Welcome to the committee, Ms. Tower.
Thank you.
Longtime resident of Sulphur. We appreciate your service to our community. I know you've always been an activist for doing things the right way. I've been on the radio show a few times, talked to yourself and the public through that format. This is, everybody does it different. Every municipality handles their meetings different. Every parish does their meetings different. I served on the police jury in Calcasieu, and we did exactly what you're talking about. We would recognize the motion and the second on every single vote, and it was all recorded that way. A lot of these things are just good practices that you put in place, but if you don't know, you don't know. And there's a lot of people that come into office that think that it's this way, and it should be a completely different way, and their perception of what they're supposed to be doing there could be blinded by the fact that they just don't know any better. So I really support what you're trying to do here and bring consistency across the board, across all government agencies, especially the smaller boards that don't have a lot of guidance. They just really don't. It's good people volunteering. They don't get paid, or if they get paid, they get paid very little, and they just want to help their community, but they really need to follow the rules of how they're supposed to be doing it. So at the proper time, I'd like to move favorable on this.
Almost not the proper time yet. We'll hold that. Representative Newell for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Good morning, Rep. Owen. What's your name, ma'am?
Nancy Tower.
Miss Tower. Thank you so much. You made a comment about if there's an attorney on the board and also that there's no cost to this. Do you have attorneys who are reaching out to volunteer to work in this capacity for the boards and commissions that you're concerned about?
No. So what's happened is, as an example, Sulphur City Council, no problem following the law. Attorneys sitting there.
Right.
Police juries, attorneys sit there. Fire boards, very seldom. It is very hard to get people to volunteer for a lot of these positions already, which is the reason I don't think you want to put a cumbersome training requirement on them at all. I think you just want them to have a basic awareness.
So does the Attorney General already offer a training such as this?
No, ma'am. What they have is they have training materials already available. So there's no additional cost for that. It's just that they have, if there's no requirement that they be given an awareness level training, they won't be. And many of you have seen it. People serve on the boards. They sit down for their first meeting. There's no orientation. There's no overview. They did their oath of office. And next thing you know, they're voting on, buying $600,000 fire trucks. And, and they're wondering, they don't understand basic things like you must state with specificity the item on the agenda, right? So simple little things like people go, I didn't know about that, or I would have gone to the meeting. Well, that's already in the law.
Yes, it is.
People circumvent that all the time, not because they're bad people, but because they don't know.
Okay, so you're wanting the AG to create more training? Are you saying, because there was a lot of words to answer my question, as to whether or not the AG has this training already provided for the public?
Yes, ma'am, they do.
Okay, so
What they
you
have
just
is
want
a
that
pamphlet. They have a pamphlet which provides an overview of open meeting law. The Attorney General has one. I think the Office of the Governor has one. I believe I've seen one from the Secretary of State. The information is out there. It's just not being used.
Okay, so that should be something that you can work on with your local, encourage them to start getting these pamphlets to work out and to look over, because most of the time when this used to happen when there were more processes in place to put people on boards. You had to apply and send in a little resume and tell what your education background was, and then you were vetted by other professionals to tell whether or not you had the experience and the knowledge to sit on these boards and provide good government and be successful and help that board be successful. But we've kind of stepped away from that process now. So now we have people who are on the boards that don't know what they're doing and don't know what to look at. And we're trying to get. And who is the person that's deemed to have general understanding? Who is that? Any member, or is that going to be a responsibility that you put on the chair?
Yes, ma'am. So the way it's written right now,
because it shows is present, a legal counsel is present at each meeting of the public body, or that the member of the public body presiding over the meeting. So do you want that to be the chair of the body, or if there's committees, is that going to be the chairs of certain committees, or
yes, ma'am.
Would the president of the board need to be at every committee meeting too?
Yes, ma'am. The way it's written, anyone who presides over a meeting that must comply with open meeting law. So if you preside over a meeting that must comply with open meeting law, then you have to have been given a general awareness training.
Okay. I just wanted to know what your thinking was with this, because again, I can't say again, but following what you said, I do love our open meetings laws, because I believe that they are straightforward and to the point. Before I got here, I was the director of board relations for our water board, and studying this, it was a big awakening to me, and it was a pleasant surprise to me to know that Louisiana had one of the best open meetings laws. But I thought it was like really straightforward and to the point. But I am also an attorney.
Yes.
But we also had people on the board who were professionals in their own right, and they had a good grasp of comprehension and understanding. But again, I see we stepping away from that. But
yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
If you don't mind, I would like to say I totally agree with you that some people it just clicks with and they get it. But the bigger issue I've seen is that many people are not even told it exists. They're not even told it exists, and they have to follow it. Mm-hmm. There are boards in this state who, if you talk to all the board members on the board, they'll say, oh, yeah, we follow open meeting law. And you'll say, really? Have you ever read it? No. Do you know where to find it? No. Could you give me an example of how that would apply? No. Mm-hmm. And so I simply believe that 90% of these violations, because these are good people who generally want to follow the law, they just don't know. Mm-hmm. Many of them could be addressed if they simply knew where to find the law. Legis.la.gov, look it up, it's right there.
Yeah, 4214 is where it starts.
Don't memorize it. Nobody's asking you to memorize it. They're asking you to reference it as it applies. And that's all this is seeking to do.
Well, thank you, Rep. And I think you have a good bill. It's just disturbing to know that we got so many people on these boards that should not have been qualified to be on some of these
Nudge will
boards.
help them.
Thank you. What you say?
Maybe this nudge will help them get get squared away.
You can't nudge or teach good comprehension, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Representative Weibel for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Rep. Owen, thank you for bringing this bill. I'm just trying to connect some dots here. We're talking about any publicly appointed board, regardless of what, or is it? Let's walk through that first. Maybe there's something I'm just missing. Any public board.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Yeah, Attorney General has a very clear definition for public bodies, and so a public body must follow open meeting law in the state of Louisiana. So anytime open meeting law applies, they would have to know that open meeting law existed.
Okay, so how would we? I mean, your example about the agenda being posted second floor in a locked building is clear cut, but for the law, for the purpose of law and interpreting the law, how would we or who would determine what's appropriate for posting the agenda and what's not?
So
Where would you post it?
Yeah, so the way this is written, the request, is you would post it such that the member of any member of the public can see it for that 24-hour period that it must be posted. So if the member of the public can see it, I guess sometimes that's inside windows, right, where you can post it inside away from the elements and you can see it through the window. Sometimes you got to put a little box on the outside so it doesn't get blown away. But as long as the intent is clear, the intent is to ensure that a guy gets off of work and he goes by the office that's locked and he could see an agenda. I'm thinking about all these little fire boards, water boards, rec boards, have websites or anything. They've got to post it. And if it is inside on the door 24 hours in advance, that does not help him at all.
Right. And then, and I'm thinking about, because I have a lot of those boards in my area, I think about like my tourism board, they're pennies budget. There's not a whole lot there. People appointed by our parish councilmen who are committed to promoting tourism in Washington Parish. And then now we're going to say, hey, if you chair this board, you have the responsibility to make sure that we're all following open meeting laws. And so in the legislation, you're saying must have a general understanding. And I'm not sure where that meets, and I'm not an attorney like Rep. Noel.
Well, I think that comes from the pamphlet of knowing, okay, we have to follow procedure X, Y, or Z. And if we get to a place where we don't, I'm not a lawyer. If I get to a place where I can't do it, then we'll have another meeting and call the lawyers. But at least to know there's something we're supposed to do as opposed to just freewheeling, I think is the intent.
Yes, and if you don't mind, let me just say, open meeting law currently holds the individual individually responsible for following open meeting law. Mm-hmm. So the fact is you already have an enforcement mechanism within the existing law that holds them accountable to something that they may have never even been told exists. Really, this is just a way to empower them without requiring them to take some rigorous, long training that costs any money. This simply says if you chair an open meeting, either an attorney sits with you and makes it available and documents it, or the person who is knowledgeable, who's done it before, sits with you, makes it available, and documents it. It's simply to empower them and to make it less likely that they're going to make these egregious violations.
An unintentional egregious violation. I mean, and it would prevent a gotcha moment. Like, oh, goodness. It empowers them to a degree.
Yeah, no, and I like it. I'm just, as a non-lawyer, I'm trying to make sure how do you define all of these things because, I'm aware of a public board, not in my district, let me preface that, who went into an executive session and made a financial decision and never had executive session on their agenda. Nor did they even, I know as a school board member, as a school board president, I know school boards, we were allowed in a unanimous vote to add items to an agenda like executive session or others and then go into the executive session. I'm not even aware if that applies to like a parish council, police jury, any of those others. But the fact of the matter is they just went right into an executive session, made a financial decision, came out of executive session, and they're living with that decision. And I know for a fact that's in violation of our open meeting laws. I'm just trying to make sure we don't leave we cloud anything anymore here. But I appreciate the bill. Thank you.
And this doesn't attempt to change. Am I just noisy? This doesn't attempt to change anything that's already there. Within the existing law, the folks who did that, the person who chaired that meeting, is liable for $500 for that violation. And if someone brings an enforcement action against them, that individual has to pay the attorney's fees, has to pay the court costs. They're liable whether they know it or not. And so, like Representative Owen was saying, it prevents the got you moment. It helps to empower them.
Okay, we have another question. Representative Walters?
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Rep. Owen, for bringing this bill. I understand where we're going with this and what we are trying to achieve, and at the appropriate time, I would ask that we move this favorable. I think it needs a little work, but overall, I think you have a good bill.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That motion has been made. Let's go to the cards. Well, actually, we have Ms. Nancy Tower at the table, who's present for information as a green card in favor. Also, we have Danny Garrett, who's also in favor, present, will provide information if necessary. We have Scott Steinberg from Louisiana Press Association, present, will provide information if requested. And in opposition, we have Debbie Hinton of the Police Jury Association, present in opposition but do not wish to speak. And also we have Guy Cormier, Police Jury Association, also present in opposition but do not wish to speak.
Yeah, please wait and speak.
Sorry?
Who wants to speak?
Yeah, please speak a little bit.
Yes, you can. You can get to the table. Who wants to speak now? Come on, Debbie. Yeah.
All right, Debbie
Okay,
Hinton,
Ms. Hinton.
Executive Council of the Police Jury Association. Thank you,
I'll stay with you.
Vice Chair Lyons. I want to thank Rep. Owen for bringing the bill. I would like to, the reason we red carded is because of the costs that will be placed upon smaller boards and commissions that don't have a website, and that would have to have a website. They would have to have cybersecurity put in place. They would have to post these notices. Something else, if you look at the way our parishes work, it's not the way the municipalities work. And by law, the DA has to represent parish governing bodies in most instances, and then they have to also represent all of the political subdivisions of the parish without any additional compensation. So that would mean that they would have to go out, and these little political subdivisions of parishes would have to go out and hire a council. So if you have 64 parishes and you run it through a data model, and if you have to have legal counsel present at every meeting, and you look at attorney time per meeting and training time and development and certification tracking, and then you also have the expanded minute requirements, which is the inclusion of a motion maker, a second, and individual vote records if requested. All of our minutes have to be published in the official journal, and we pay per character in most cases. The draft minutes have to be published within our official journal law within 20 days. There's a bill on the Senate side to amend that to 45 days to allow us to publish only our final approved minutes. If we meet every month, you can't publish within 20 days. And then website posting requirements are in here too. So that's 43-144 and 43-171 is for everybody but school boards, municipalities, and parish governing bodies. So we'll have to have additional clerical and legal review time. We'll have faster turnaround requirements. Also, with regard to the IT system and document management, there's going to be additional costs there. And the scale of the impact, we have 64 parishes, we have about 300 municipalities, and we have thousands of special special districts, fire, drainage, hospital, water, sewer, rec. I mean, you name it. We've got ambulance districts, we got railroad districts. So a reasonable modeling range would be about 2,000 to 4,000 total public bodies that would be affected by this. An average public body meets 12 times a year. The average meeting time is about 2 hours, so a conservative rate of an attorney hourly fee is $150. If you give that 2 to 3 hours, then your cost is between $300 and $450 annually per entity. That would be $3,600 to $5,400. The administrative minute production costs, we would have to make sure that we had recorded motions and seconds. We tracked individual votes, and then we'd have drafting minutes within a tighter timeline. We would need additional staff to do that. A low estimate would be about $40 to $80. We would need that extra staff time. Then with regard to the website and IT compliance cost, my husband is in IT, and you have got to protect your website. So many entities already have websites, but many of our smaller districts do not. Minimal incremental compliance would be $200 to $1,000 per entity. Most of our parishes do this. They just do. The problem is our smaller guys, our smaller drainage districts and sewer districts. So the estimated cost per entity low would be a $4,200 estimate. A high estimate would be $7,300, and then you multiply that times a low estimate of 2,000 public entities. That for the 64 parishes would be $320,000 a year, and that would just be the 64 parishes. If you multiplied that by 2,000, that would be about $10 million. So I'm just trying to set out some maybe parameters that maybe people are not aware of. I thank Rep. Owen because he's amazing. He's a great rep, and I hate doing this, but I just want to make sure that people are aware of a well-meaning bill.
Thank you, Ms. Hinton.
I appreciate y'all very much.
We appreciate you. All right, Rep. Thomas, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Mr. Vice Chair and Representative Owen, I don't see a fiscal note in my packet. Do you know of a fiscal note?
Not aware. Oh,
There is
new?
a fiscal note?
Oh.
And it says zero
Yeah.
expenditures?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the board's clear. Rep. Owen, would you like to close on your bill?
I want to thank everyone for paying attention to this. We all come from different places, and we all know that these boards and groups that do public service, oftentimes for free, deserve protection. I think this provides a modicum of protection. It will assure our public that we're paying attention. Come on. Posting the notice for a meeting inside of a locked building on the third floor, we can do better. And then we're doing good now. I'm very impressed with our public meeting law. I'm thankful Ms. Tower brought this to my attention, and thank Ms. Tower for coming, and I would ask y'all's favorable passage.
Thank you. And board's clear. And with that, Representative Farnham has made a motion that we report House Bill 1049 favorable. Is there any objection? Seeing none, House Bill 1049 will be reported favorable. Thank you, Representative Owen.